We's in Chicago right now. New restaurant, so that we can figure out if they're good or not. There's multiple people with me, so I theoretically don't know if I can do this or not. But let's just find out what we can do, and I'm gonna take you guys with me. All right, let's hit it. So we tried going to the cafe, but there was such a long line. It went down one whole block. So we're gonna go eat some more food, come back, and then we can try. Valet decided to go park the car, so now we have to take this long walk over there. And, let me just throw a montage in there because why not? I'll see you guys there. People there. RPM Seafood. Sounds like an expensive place over here. That seems nice, but there's so many people here. Oh my gosh, I bet you it's packed. Here's some pictures that I took over there. Come look. So, these are maybe here. This issue is this copyright music area, so I'm gonna talk over it. This is my face is really dark because it's not exposed. But we're thinking about going on a boat. We tried to go into the fancy restaurant, but they were closed till Tuesday, so we just sat out and waited for some pizza. A Pizza took over here, and now we're right here. Let's go. Alright, here's that high quality menu you guys want. High quality menu right here. The back side is all alcohol, so I can't show that. Here you guys go. Alright, so the drinks came. I got a Pepsi, you got a Pepsi, she got some Sprite. We're gonna drink, wait for our food. We got all the food here. We're gonna keep all. You might order this food. Alright, I'm in the back. Never had this in. So, we decided to go sit, we finished food, we're trying to sit and find out what's next.
Can we all hear me all the way through this boat? Excellent. Welcome everybody to the Sea Dog. Supposed to be leaving at 5:15. Sorry, we're getting a little bit of a short, late start in this. We were trying to dock up with the last tour here. We came in a little bit late. Leaving here as shortly as possible. 75-minute River Architecture Cruise. Double check your tickets. Make sure you're here on the correct ride. River Architecture Cruise going for about 75 minutes out on the lake and out on the river. Once again, River Architecture Cruise. A couple of things, however. It will be getting a little bit bumpy out there on the lake, so if you got a bad back, bad neck, bad heart, any kind of joint conditions or bone conditions, osteoporosis, or are in the late stages of pregnancy. So again, if you got any of those joint conditions or are in the late stages of pregnancy, this may not be the ride for you. You know your body better than I would. So if you think you're going to have problems with it, now is the time to alert the captain and get off the boat. Another thing, really quickly, you will get wet on this ride. It is getting a little bit windy out there, and therefore the waves can be a little bit more bumpier. But I'll tell you this, the highest likelihood is in the back and along the edges to be getting wet. Up front here with me and along the aisles, the drier parts of the boat. So hypothetically, the best right here, way in the back and along the edges are the wettest parts of the boat. So if anybody wants to move around and change up their seats, you better do so right now, because there will be no standing up and moving around throughout the duration of the ride once we finally get our seats. How about this wind coming in out of nowhere all of a sudden? How about it? Folks, my name is Ryan. I'm going to be your tour guide here for this tour right now. Welcome, everyone. Let's give it up for our Captain Francois right up here at the front. Give it up for Francois. He's going to be double checking and making sure that we all have our seatbelts on. Also, give it up for our first mate, Eric, up in the pod, controlling the ship right now. Give it up for Eric, everybody. A couple more rules here on this tour. There will be no smoking whatsoever. There will be no littering. Thank you very much. Also, everybody along the edges here, make sure that your body parts are inside of the boat. Don't hang your head or arms or leg outside of the boat. Also, as you can feel with all this wind going on right now, make sure that everything is nice and tight on your body. I'm talking about your hats, sunglasses, necklaces, rings, and wigs.
Take off
Make
them
sure
damn
that they are
glasses.
all nice and tight on your body. Let me show you how to put on a life jacket. This will save your life in case of an emergency.
Everywhere.
And we have plenty of life jackets underneath your seats and in the
Henry's
back for
already getting
child
wet.
sizes, so you know.
I can feel it.
I'm taking it that we're going to be going out onto the lake first. Out onto the lake first, or are we going to be going out onto the
feel
river
it.
first?
It's rain.
Out onto the lake. Very, very good. A little bit about our surroundings right now. We're getting closer and closer to the Chicago Lighthouse. The Chicago Harbor Lighthouse was built originally in 1893. 1893.
All right. So, I didn't want to get the camera wet because it immediately started to get worse over there. So I started recording my phone. My pocket where the camera was got soaked. But luckily the camera was fine. There was condensation on the lens. So, I cleaned that off. Now it's perfectly fine.
Southern Direct Antler Planetarium, as a matter of fact, built in 1930, was the very first planetarium not just within the Western Hemisphere, or excuse me, within the Western Hemisphere, not just within the confines of Chicago or America. Soldier Field, of course, is where the Chicago Bears, Chicago Fire, and a ton of different high-profile concerts take place, and where those two sports teams play. Soldier Field was constructed in 1924, and it actually had a renovation take place all the way through 2003 to 4, where now we have about 64,000 seats taking place inside of there. And again, public parking garage. Public parking garage on the land. Some developers purchased that land, and if you can be able to see past those trees, you see all of those columns. They placed columns all the way around that public parking garage and laid a slab of concrete thick enough to support the rest of the building in the air. The city went to them and they said, you're not supposed to be building any buildings on this land. They said, we're not building land, or excuse me, we're not building a building on public land. We're building in the air that exists above the public land. So it's all free game. So they exploited a zoning loophole within our laws. We made sure to close up the language in those laws to make sure something like that never happens again. The building is shaped sort of like a fidget spinner, all those curvature, and that is because when the wind comes from Lake Michigan and ends up hitting that building, it blows off of the sides of the building as opposed to being absorbed. If it was a giant boxy building like you see with any one of these skyscrapers, it would eventually absorb that and compromise the integrity of the structure. As you can imagine, a lot of affluent people have lived within that building. Ton of celebrities, Tom Cruise, Halle Berry, Alice Cooper, as well as a ton of different Chicago athletes as well, specifically Sammy Sosa, Ryan Sandberg, and Ozzie Guerin, Scottie Pippen as well. This building on your left-hand side, this is the St. Regis Hotel and Vista Tower, both hotel space and private residency. This is an example of contextualism architecture, meaning that it adds to the context of everything that came before, or shall we say pay homage to everything that came before. Notice that the building by optical illusion sort of waves all the way down. That's to mimic the waves of the river and that of the lake. Not to mention the turquoise, blues, grays, and greens all sort of match the hue of the river and lake as well. This is the third tallest building within our skyline, #1 tallest building in the world that was built by a female architect. Her name is Jeannie Gang. Studio Gang is the architectural firm. Look up at the very top of the building, you see that wide open hole at the 83rd floor. It's actually 2 stories tall. Architects have to deal with something called drift. This is when the wind is hitting the very top of the building, it is going to sway back and forth, and they got to figure out different creative ways to be able to deal with drift. In this case, you got a wide open floor there at the 83rd floor to allow the wind to blow through the building, and that's what stabilizes it at the very top. The St. Regis Hotel, Vista Tower, and some very expensive real estate in that building, by the way. I think $19.5 million for a penthouse that exists at the very top of the second column there. Very beautiful building. Currently, the longest drawbridge in the world, stretching at about 536 feet. All of our bridges work off of the bascule trunnion technology. Bascule is French for seesaw. Essentially, all of our bridges working like a seesaw. If my elbow was a weight, it would bring that bridge up, and then a counterweight would react to where my hand is to be able to bring the bridge down. We have 37 of them, more than anywhere else in the world.
So this part's gonna be really boring. So I'm gonna time lapse this until the end of the ride. So yeah.
Bulletproof glass all the way across it, has 2 helicopter pads at the very top of the building. Not to mention, it has a ballroom inside of it of about 40,000 square footage of land, essentially like an acre of land. So a lot of visiting dignitaries will visit or a little bit about our lakefront as well. Our lakefront actually originally stands at about 150 feet tall, the original World Trade to be able to go about 164 feet up in the air. The people were terrified of this thing. They didn't want to ride in it whatsoever. It took Ferris and his wife to go all the way up to the very top. She held out a little hanky, waved it down to the people and let them know, all right, I'm alive up here. People started to pile onto the thing at the tune of about $1 a ride. That helicopter getting ready to land right behind that blue building that looks like a house.
That's what I said.
That's my house, by the way, for those of you who wonder. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. That is the Chicago Marina. So they have the helicopter pads for the fire department, ships for the fire department.
So there was this really huge jump cut because I ran out of battery and I ran out of space on my camera. Same thing for my phone. I was running low on battery, so I stopped. But after we got off the boat, we decided to eat donuts and drink boba. And then we took an Uber back to the valet. Got in the car, went to Chinatown, and eat more food, and decided to walk around. And then we went home. That's it.
You see the line?
Where's the Drake?
Where's the Drake?